Thanksgiving at my aunt's house has always followed a script. Same dining table. Same overcooked turkey. Same comparisons, and at some point, usually between the second glass of wine and dessert, my cousin Evan would start performing. "You still driving that old thing?" he asked me one year, grinning over his fork. "Man, maybe someday you'll have a real job like me." The table laughed in that polite, family way. Not cruel enough to protest, not kind enough to stop it. I would shrug. It runs. That was my role. The unbothered one. The cousin who dabbled. The one whose work sounded vague enough to dismiss. I never corrected them. Explaining a startup to people who measure success in titles is exhausting. So I let them assume I was still figuring things out. Meanwhile, I was building something that required more silence than applause. 2. This year felt no different at first. Evan arrived late, wearing a blazer like he'd just stepped out of a networking event. My aunt announced his promotion before he sat down. "He's interviewing with some very serious firms now," she said, scanning the table to make sure we absorbed it. Evan smiled modestly. "Just exploring options. Top-tier companies. The kind that don't hire just anyone." He looked at me when he said it. I nodded and reached for the salt. Dinner moved along, small talk. Updates. Subtle hierarchy. Then, as plates were being cleared, Evan leaned back in his chair and sighed dramatically. "Actually, I'm waiting to hear back from this one company in particular. It's competitive. But honestly, they need someone like me." "What company?" someone asked. He said the name. "My company, not the public-facing brand. The parent firm, the one most people don't casually know unless they've done research." I kept my expression neutral. My aunt clasped her hands. "If they're smart, they'll grab you immediately." Evan smirked. "They will." I had a strong referral. I remembered the referral. It came with a note from HR. Impressive resume. Concerning tone in interview. Displays entitlement. I had flagged it for a second review. I hadn't known it was him until I saw the full name. I didn't say anything then. I didn't plan this moment. But when it arrived, it felt strangely measured, like a door opening slowly instead of slamming. "So," I said lightly, "you're serious about wanting to work there?" He shrugged. "It's a big leap from what you're used to, but yeah. It's the level I operate at." There it was again. The easy dismissal. Someone at the table asked what the company did. Evan launched into a confident summary. He got most of it right. When he finished, there was a small pause. My aunt beamed at him like he'd just delivered a keynote. "That's impressive," my mother said politely. Then, glancing at me, "You've probably never even heard of it." I set my fork down. "I have," I said. Evan laughed. "Sure. I should," I added. "I own it." The room shifted, not dramatically. Just enough. Evan's smile held for half a second too long. "Own what?" my aunt asked sharply. I pulled out my phone, opened the corporate site. Scrolled to the executive page. My name, my photo, CEO and founder. I turned the screen toward them. Silence isn't loud, but it fills space. Evan stared at the screen. Then at me. "You're joking." "I'm not." He looked around the table, searching for confirmation that this was some elaborate setup. My aunt's face tightened. "Since when?" "About 6 years now." "You never said anything," she snapped. "No one asked." Evan shifted in his seat, his confidence recalibrating in real time. "Well," he said, forcing a laugh, "then I guess you've seen my application." "I have." Another pause. This one heavier. He straightened. "Then you know I'm qualified." "I know your resume is strong," I said evenly. From my briefcase, the one I'd brought because I was flying out early the next morning, I'd pulled a folder. I'd planned to review documents after dinner. His application was on top. I held it between my fingers for a moment. There's a version of this story where I humiliate him. Where I recite every note from HR. Where I mirror every joke he's made at my expense. Instead, I looked at him and said, "We evaluate more than credentials." Then I tore the application cleanly in half. Not violently, not theatrically, just decisively. His mother stood up so abruptly her chair scraped against the tile. "How dare you?" she shouted. "You think you can embarrass him like this?" I kept my voice calm. "No one is embarrassed." The decision would have been the same in the office. Evan's face had gone pale, then flushed. "You're doing this because of some petty family thing," he said. "If that were true," I replied, "you wouldn't have made it to final review." That landed. The screaming continued, about jealousy, about grudges, about fairness. I let it pass through the room. Power doesn't need to argue. Eventually, I put the torn pages back into the folder and stood up. "I don't mix family with business," I said. "Tonight included." I thanked my aunt for dinner. I meant it. On the drive home, I expected to feel vindicated. Instead, I felt steady. Validation is quieter than I imagined. It doesn't cheer. It doesn't replay old insults in reverse. It just settles something internally. For years I'd been the cousin who might get there someday. Tonight, I realized I'd already arrived, and I didn't need their recognition to prove it. Tearing the paper wasn't about revenge. It was about choosing who gets access to what I built. And for once, I didn't apologize for that.